So the requirement is write a Java program to print longest vowel sequence. Longest vowel sequence of string. So from this, wherever there are more vowels were together, that should be the output. To understand that, let me take a sample input, say string, some yes equals. So first I'll take some non-vowel, then two vowels, then one more non-vowel, some three vowels. It can be different also, it can be same also. One more non-vowel, then I'll take one sequence of vowels, all, then one more non-vowel, that's it. Or here I'll take one more A, then I end the string. So in this string, there are some non-vowels and there are some vowels also. Then out of this, so it can be single vowel, it can be group of vowels. So out of which we have to print which is the biggest one or longest one. So in this question, what's our output for this input? AEIOU should be the output. Correct or not? That's the longest sequence. So for this, what is the step-by-step approach? What should be our thinking? So because in our output part, we want vowel. We want vowel. Can we make all non-vowels or can we remove all non-vowels? Can we remove all non-vowels from the input? Yes or no? Yes or no? So how to do that? First thing is write a loop. So I'm not writing the code. I'm just telling the step. The step one is write a loop to replace non-vowels. Why we have to replace non-vowels? Because vowels only as our part of output. That's why replace non-vowels with some character. It can be A, B, C, D, or it should not be vowel. It can be at the rate. It all can be D. All can be like that. Why we have to replace with some character, with same character is, for example, the same character, let us go for some D. It means what the string is going to become? After this step, the S is going to become what? D, then A also, then D, triple E, then D, AIOU. Okay. Then next D followed by A. So this is what it is going to become. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
So D, then double A, then D triple E, then D AEIOU, then DA. It's going to become. Why we are do like this is now can we implement split method on this?
Split method, yes, sir.
Split by what? D.
D.
Once is split by D, what it will become? It will
Uh,
become array of vowels
D.
only. Yes or no?
Yes.
It will become one array. What's element? Double A. It will
A,
become
comma,
triple
E,
E.
E,
And it will become AEIOU. It will become A. So this is the
A.
split result which we are going to get. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So once we get this one, then can we get the longest vowel sequence with the length method? So first string length, I'll find it. Second length, I'll find it. If the second is bigger than first one, we'll swap the value. Then the next one is bigger than the previous, then we'll swap the value. Then if we'll check up to the end of the array, then we'll finally print which is the biggest element. Understood? So now we know everything, right? We know how to replace, we know how to split it, we know how to use the length method. That's it. Now let us write the Java code for this. Understanding is a bit simple only, but writing the code, we have to follow some steps very clearly, carefully. So assume this is the main method. Inside this, first there is a string input we can read from the keyboard, and our logic is going to be generic. The string yes equals, I'll take the same input. So D double A, then K triple E, then X AEIOU, then followed by some Z A is my input. So again, our logic is going to be generic. We can take any input. Then what's next step? Write a loop to replace non-vowels with some same character. Then for that, how to write a loop for this? To access each and every character of a string. Int I equals 0 is the starting index, I should be less than or equals, yeah, s dot length method minus 1 up to last index, then I plus plus each every index. Then followed by inside this loop body, what is supposed to do? Replace it. How to replace it? Replace is a method on string. How to use that? S dot replace. Replace what? The first character with a same character. So how to get each character? Yeah, just a second. So inside this one, we have to replace every character, or we have to replace only consonants. Only consonants. Therefore, we have to write a logic. What is that? S dot char at method with I index will return what? This will return a character I'm storing into some variable called ch. I gave this method to observe what is input, what's return type. Then if this ch is one character, then what's the vowel logic? If, yeah, ch double equal to 0 is a vowel, then not equal to 0 is a, sorry, not equal to a is a consonant. Ch is not equals first vowel, then ch is not equals second vowel. So like this we'll be writing for all. Yeah, I'm not writing. Then how do you connect them? Logical or logical and? So double equals works with or, not equals works with a and operator only, we have to use it, not or. So like this we'll be writing for all. So if it means it is not a vowel, so wherever it is not a vowel, then replace with some same character. So as per our discussion, it's D, or you can go for @ star, dollar, everything. Okay, then how to use the replace method? S dot replace method. What we have to replace? The character which is not a vowel with what? Common character called D as per our discussion. So this is a variable, no single quotes. This is a value. That's why character value has to be in single quotes. Then since a string is immutable, assign that result back to yes every time. Otherwise, original one will be as it is. We can't implement the logic. Got it? The first point. All of you. So once it is done, then what is the next step? Split it. How to split? So outside of for loop, yes dot split method. How we want to split it? Split by a string. What is the string character? Wherever there is D. Split it. If you split, what's the result? Split the result is one string array. So I'll use a string of some array name ARR. Understood? So once we get string array, what we supposed to do? It is like a biggest number of logic. In array, how do you get the biggest number? Correct or not? So for that, what's the reference? Always 0th index position should be the reference value. That's why this array name and 0th index position I'm using as a reference. This is which type of array? String array. Then the index, each element will be which type? String type only. So therefore, I am using some string data type with some variable called s1. Then we have to check the remaining elements of the array. So for that, we need one for loop. So for loop for int I equals. From where to start? 0th index element is already referred. Reference is used. Therefore, start from 1. Then I should be less than or equals ARR dot length method or length property. Length property because it's array. Length minus 1, then followed by I plus plus. What's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of this? Find the greatest number, but finally we want to print the greatest number or greatest length. Greatest string we have to print or number we have to print? String we have to print. But while comparing, length we have to compare. Understand this point? So first here, if, what is that? Reference is what? S1. S1, that is ARR of I. What is this one? String. Correct or not? Some string. Then on string, can we implement a method called length method? if the next element length, for example, this is ARR of 0, am I correct or not? This is what? ARR of 1, and this is the ARR of 2, and this is what? ARR of 3. What are we supposed to do? This length we have to compare, correct or not? That's why I'm using this next element length with previous element length. What is the previous element? S1 only, or we can use ARR of 0 also. S1 dot length method. So if it is greater, what are we supposed to do? Swap it, correct or not? So how to swap it? The ARR of I element has to be assigned to the S variable, S1. That's it. Then each time S1 will have a new or greatest element only. Then finally, outside the for loop, what we have to print? System.out.println. Print what? S1, which is going to give AEIO is output for this input. Understood? So again, array is there, again string is there, will be easily out of interview with such type of questions. Previously also I said one. Am I clear? So we'll execute this. So in this, somewhere we have a string project. Inside this one, let's go for one more new class. Directly I'm executing inside a main method. So I'll give us longest vowel sequence. And I am choosing main method. Click on finish. So quickly I'll implement the scanner class. I'll type the code which we already know a bit faster. So inside this main method, first we are going to use a scanner class to read the string from keyboard. Scanner sc equals new scanner of system.in is the first part, then followed by, so I'm giving one print statement for console to pop up. So here I'll give us enter a string. Then followed by, what's the method to read string word? Sc dot. Next is a method to read string of word. Next line is a method to read string as a sentence. So which is some string s variable. So our a, some d and all we have taken now, that is there in s variable now. What is step one? So we have to split any question into some simple steps. What's step one? Replace consonants. Sorry, consonants is wrong. Non-vowels. Non-vowels with same character as the first step. So what's that we have to do it? For loop is required for that. So for loop int I equal to 0, because from starting index to I should be less than or equals s dot length is a method, then -1 up to last index, then each index that is plus plus. What's the purpose of this one? So here we have to get a each character of this by using a caret method with I index only. With I index only, then store this result into some char variable of ch. So then followed by, if this ch is not a vowel, then replace it. That's why first for loop, then for loop, sorry, not for loop. If condition, what is that? Ch not equals a. Then and operator, then ch not equals e. The next logical and ch not equals I. Like this for all vowels. I'll type it. Then here one more time. So these all are vowels. Then inside this if condition, can we write without curly braces? Inside this if body, can we write without curly braces? Or
No,
curly
sir.
braces are mandatory? Curly braces
Curly
are
braces
not
required.
mandatory. Not mandatory. So here I am writing the replace method. So I'll tell you that point also. S dot replace. Replace method I am using. Replace ch with what? Common character, that is D as per our thing. Then since string is immutable, this will not throw any error, but we have to assign back to S only every time. So here the point is, it is allowed to write one line of code as non-initialized statement. With or without? Without flower brackets. Without flower brackets using if condition. This is the point to remember. We can write a non-initialized statement only without flower brackets. What is that non-initialized? I'll give you one example. This is step 1 is over. Yeah. So here, this is our end of for loop. Sorry. This is the end of for loop. Correct or not?
Sir, for else if and else for that also curly
Yeah.
braces not required, sir.
Yeah, that we'll discuss after this program.
Okay.
This is the first part. Then what step 2? The step 2 is split. Split by what? Split by same character. So here we have taken D, then we have to split by D only. Yeah, same character. Then how to use it? On S dot method split. What's the input? Anything as string. If you just observe the syntax, string, but our string is D. That's what the same character means. What's return type? String array. Some variable ARR of programmer choice. Then from this array, what we supposed to do? Get the biggest, which is length. Lengthwise, which is biggest. So for that, we need one reference. So when we access the 0th index position as a reference, then that will be a string type. Therefore, I am taking some string S1. Then to check the remaining elements, use a for loop. So for loop, the index number 0 is already used for reference, then start from 1. Then I should be less than or equals ARI is array, therefore length only we can implement, not length method. After last index minus 1. Then each and every index from 1, that's why plus plus. What's the purpose of this for loop? Check their length, compare their length, and get the biggest out of it. So for that, comparison if condition. The array's next element length is, if it is bigger than the reference string length, then what is supposed to do? Swap it. That we have to assign to S1. So how to get that other one? Error of 5. Then assign this back to S1. So again, one line of code, I'm not using flower brackets. So this is the condition. So once this is done, finally in S1, the element which is the biggest of length will be there. Then outside is for loop. So here I'm using a print function. So print which one? S1. So here longest vowel sequence. Okay. Is colon space. So what's variable? So S1 is a
S1.
variable. That's it. Let me save. Let me execute from control F11. So first to understand the output, I'll take DA, some X double A, then some G triple A, then H, some 1A. What should be output? The longest vowel sequence is triple A. Correct? Now let me re-execute control F11. So now I'll give D, A, E, I, O, U. The next some other J, K, L, not vowels, some number of I's. The next some IE concept. Then I'll enter something as some string. So out of this, what's the prediction? How many times I is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times I is there. But here, so 3, then 6, 8, something 10 is there, right? So this should be the output. Now you observe. So this is the output. Where all of these are vowels only. Yeah. Then when it comes to any string questions, don't be happy if you are getting the output like this. Check with the first and check with the last also by giving something. By checking in the middle, most of the times we'll be comfortable and we'll get the outputs also. If starting is also like that only, 5 A's, then I give 1 G, then some number of I's, then one more consonant. I'll give some number of E's. So first is vowel, last also vowel only. So this time what should be output? Multiple E's should be the output because that looks longer, correct? So starting also working, ending also, our logic is working. Most of the time this will be failed, on strings especially. Yeah. So it's the same thing that we have discussed. I have typed it, nothing new. You can take this as a reference if you understand better, or you can take this code if you understand better. So then here, during this program, I have asked one question. What is that is it possible to write if or else if or else without flower brackets is my question. So what is the answer? The answer is yes, but with a condition. What is the condition? Yes, if one line of code as non-initialized statement. Non-initialized statement. Multiple lines of code, never possible. Okay, multiple lines of code, mandatory, we have to use the floor brackets. But only one line of code is possible. But if it is a non-initialized statement only, what's the meaning of it? For example, if some condition, say 10 greater than 2, then I'm not using floor brackets, but I'll use system.out.println. I can write 10 is bigger than 2. Correct or not? Bigger than 2. Are we initializing anything here? Just we are printing something, correct? But the same thing, if condition 10 greater than 2, I'll write int x equals to 20. So here, are we initializing anything? Is it initializing or not? 20 is the
Yes,
value
sir.
which is assigned to x variable, correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? So
Yes,
then
sir.
the left hand side is correct or wrong as per this statement? Is this is right? As without curly braces, one line of code, is this allowed or not allowed?
Allowed, sir.
This is allowed. What about this one?
Not
It
allowed.
is not allowed. What's the reason?
It
Because
is
this is a
initialized.
initialized statement. Now I write one more thing. If 10 greater than 2, I'll use a floor brackets. Same thing I'll write int x equal to 20 as only one line of code. Now is it correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Correct.
This is allowed. What's the reason? So here JVM will think that this x variable can be used for some other purpose in this body. But when only one line of code is there, what's the use of this x here? Do we use this x anywhere? No. When a variable which is declared inside a method body, is it possible to use outside? No. When something is declared inside a for loop, is it possible to use outside? Not
No, sir.
possible.
It's not possible.
Same thing here also. When we just initialize this x variable, what's the purpose of this x variable here? Yeah, can we use or we cannot use? We cannot use if we write as only one line of code without curly braces. So that's why these non-initialized statements are not allowed to write as a one line of code. But with curly braces, if you write it, still if you don't write anything also, But JVM will understand that, okay, this X might be used in future. There is a possibility, but if it is declared like this without curly braces, it's never possible to use. That's why this will be syntax error, and this is the perfectly allowed. Yeah, but non-initialized statements, of course, one line of code is allowed. So in my code also, or in this code also, so here we are using something called as non-initialized statement as a one line of code. Here also we are using one line of code. Are we initializing anything? No, we are doing some other tasks. So such type of statements are always allowed as a one line of code without curly braces or with curly braces. But initialized line of code will never be allowed as a one line of code. Yeah. So just let me prove the last point. That is, I'm just using some dummy if condition 10 greater than 2, some Boolean expression. Then inside this one, I'll write something called as int x equals to 20. Accepted? Accepted, or are we getting any error? Accepted. Now the same thing, I'll remove the floor brackets. Accepted? No. What's up point? Unreachable code. Yeah. So these are some various reasons are there. So X cannot be resolved to a variable type. And here the left hand side of an assignment must be a variable. Then syntax error insert comma to complete it. Syntax error insert dot class to complete some inner class concept and all. It is throwing the errors. Okay.
Sir, that space is required, sir.
Waste space.
Uh, Next to that if condition, there is space, no, sir. Without that space, is it possible to run the code?
Where is the space here? I didn't understand.
Uh, Int x is equal to 10. In front, there is a space, no, sir.
Here.
Yes, sir.
That's a if body. It's a by default, right? So this is a class body starting. Where is the method next line is started? With one tab space. And this is the method body to start. Where the next line starts? One tab space. This is one for loop. Where the next line starts? With some tab space. That's what the indication of this if body also. Here also same space is there, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the indentation.
Without that space also, will it work, sir?
In the previous one, this one it will not work because still this
This
line of
one,
code,
not this one, sir. Not this one.
this will not work. This will work. Still, let me save it. Let me execute it. Yeah, because everywhere only one single vowel is there. Yeah, clear now.
Clear, sir. Clear.
Yeah. Last question. Last question. No. Okay. So here, this third question only, I'll rewrite it. I will rewrite. So what is that means? There is a string. Some yes equals. So some D double A, then some double X, then one more time A, then one more time X, something B. This is some string input. So for this, there are two different ways to get the output. This is also frequently asked interview question only. So for the same string, the first output is 1D, 3A, 3X, 1B. For the same string, the second output is 1D, 2A, 2X, 1A, 1X, 1B. These are the two questions, but input is same. What is your understanding? So for this, in this entire string, so first one is entire string is a consideration. It means in this entire string, how many D's are there? 1 and the D. In this entire string, how many A's are there? 3 A's are there. then followed by 3x are there, then 1b is there. That's the first thing. But in second one, only consecutive, means continuously. So how many d's are there together? 1d. How many a's are there together? 2 a's over there. Then how many x were there? 2x. Then again 1a. Then again 1x. Then again 1b. Your logic has to be generic. So this is the question. Out of this, first one I gave as a previous one. First one only I gave. Yeah. Which one I have to explain? Two are there, first one or second one? Both no.
Sir, can you explain that question once more, sir, like output?
In this entire string, if you take one character from starting, in this order only we have to move. How many times d
Okay,
is there?
one time D.
So that how many times 1 and what is that d? That we have to print.
Okay,
Second in this entire string. What is second character? A. How many A's were there? 3 A's were
3
there. Then A is over. A story is over. The next character X. How many X were there? 3 X were there. Then all this A is over, X is over. Then B. How many B's were there? 1B. That should be the output.
one.
Yeah. So I'll explain first one. So with that, you can try second one. Okay, so there is power is gone.